Bruchim Habayim b'Shem Hashem. Shem Eitan Feiner Shlita. I'd like to welcome everyone to the final shir of the summer season by Rabbi Eytan Feiner Shlita. So Eitan Feiner Shlita continues throughout the year. Rav Yaakov Zev Smith will be resuming his Sunday morning halacha shir this Sunday. The stall in the Shul, 1601 48th Street. Normally it's at 10 a.m. This week the first week will be 10:30, but throughout the year it's 10 a.m. every Sunday. I'd like to give big shekach to all the sponsors of tonight's shir, Mr. Aaron Wolfson, Lili Nishmas Oviv, Rav Zeber, Rav Avram, Wolfson Yosar Chafei Ov, David Einon, Lili Nishmas Oviv, Rav Naftali, Ben Becheskel, Rav Shalom Yosar Chavav Ov, Shimon Eckstein, Lili Nishmas Imei, Chaya Basar Bayar Tzvi, Yosar Chazayin Ov, and Mr. and Mrs. Yitzhak Klug, Nishmas, the parents are Moshe Pinchas, Ben Rav Dov Halevi, and Rav Tzvi Moshe, Ben Rav Shalom Yaakov, Hashi Jacobs, and also Nishmas Shalom Yaakov, Ben Rav Chiel Mechel, Aleim Hashem, his first Yartzai Zayin Elul. Also Be'elam Shem, as a Schusser for Shlema, for Rafael Avram Nesana, Ben Mashal Liba, Soshachel Yisrael, Rabbi Zucker. Also Be'elam Shem, as Hakaras HaTov, to Eitan Feiner Shlita, to Rabbi Bolden, all the Askanim, and have the Menachem Av Nishmas Soisha Gittel Basar Yosef Allah Shalom. To have the great source in our Botz's Torah of Eitan Feiner Shlita. If you aren't able to be mishtatef by the dinner, you can still join and call 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com for this great schus. Tonight we have the cover to have with us once again Rabbi Eytan Feiner Shlita, Rav of Knesseth Shul, the White Shul. And closing the summer and getting set for Elul with true Simcha. It's my cover to call on Rabbi Feiner Shlita for tonight's Rosh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nehiyeh bidvaro. Shalom Rocha, good evening, a gewaldige schus yet again, and of course to preface with an overwhelming expression of a karsatayv to Rabbi Bolt Shlita, Rabbi Deutsch Shlita, everybody involved in this unbelievable Maisad Irgan Shiurei Torah. The Eibishter should continue to send Hafla de Kasiyata Dishmaya, Hein Baruchnius, Vehin Begashmius, Bekifle Keflayim, Bezeu Beba, Lahagdil Torah Ladira to be Marbel, and Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, Bechol Yom Vayom Ve'eza Hashem Yizborach. So here we are with Siyata Dishmaya at the end of the summer. Kayitz Tavshin Pei Dalid. And as you just heard the topic for this evening, closing the summer and getting set for Elul with true Simcha. But tomorrow Rabbi Sai, it's a little bit difficult. Eis Tzorah Hili Yaakov. We all with fear. Belevu b'nefesh, ever apprehensive, what's going to be with the Chayilim on the battlefield, whether it's in Gaza, whether up north. What's going to be with the Chatuf and Rachmana Litzlan, those hostages still in captivity. What's going to be with the Mishpachos who suffered the tragic loss of a loved one this summer, the traffic accidents upstate and all throughout. Rachmana Litzlan, just this week, 2 drownings in the Delaware River. From Lakewood, from Woodmere, New York. Rabbi Feiner, what do you think you're doing? We're closing out a summer with true Simcha. How is that shaykh to think such a thing? It's been a summer of many tzaras. It's been a summer of so many horrific tragedies. How can we really emerge from Kayitz Tavshin Pei Dalid with a pure sense of emistik simcha? And of course, we're all searching for it. The well-known Sefer Charedim, the Arizal, was asked by Rabbi Eytan, how did he get to his unbelievable Madrega? The great, the renowned Mekubal, Rav Luria, Zechat Tzaddik V'Kodesh L'Vracha, the Heilige Ari HaKadosh. How did he get to those unmatched Madregas, Nizgovas B'Yoser, of Kedusha, B'Taro, Torah Sanister, Chokmas HaKabolah? And the Rizal famously answered, he got to those unbelievable Madregas and Ruchnius Mitoch Simcha Shal Mitzvah. That every single thing he did b'simcha. Rabbeinu Bachai writes in Kadakemach, Erech Simcha, that more schar that you get for performing a mitzvah, more schar even than the actual maisa, the pulas ha-mitzvah, is the schar that you're going to receive one day for the simcha with which you performed that maisa mitzvah. And what was the amount, the quantity, and the quality, of course, of simcha that was infused into every maisa mitzvah, and to every word of Torah? Did I learn with the bread, with the slavas, with the geschmack? Did I learn with the simcha? Did I give chesed, tzedakah, mitzvahs, masam tovim? Did I do it all with the geschmack, with the leibedikkeit, with the heart that was mole? The goddess simcha amitis. Zog the Heilige Rabbeinu Bachai, that's what you're going to get the ikar schar for. The schar for the Maisa Mitzvah indeed, but in an even greater measure of schar for the amount of simcha with which you performed, with which you did that Maisa Mitzvah. Ivdu as Hashem b'simcha, Kapitel Kuf in Tehillim, Parshas Kisova, the Socha Tachas Esholovatu Shomakecha b'simcha b'tuf leivav, writes in the Sam Sefer, in fact, at the very first mitzvah, he's writing down in Torah Moshe, but in Sam Sefer al Torah Parshas Vayechi, so the Heilige Sam Sefer, when he's matik a chelik of the drosha that he said over, b'shas the bar mitzvah of one of his bonim, zok the Sam Sefer, what's the first mitzvah bar mitzvah boy has? It's the mitzvah of Simcha. You became a bracha bar mitzvah the night of Yud Gimel Shonim v'Yom. So now HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kavayach wants to see you doing that mitzvah b'simcha. I just came, Baruch Hashem, from a gewaldige simcha, a chasana. I left right after the chuppah. I had the schus to be Masad, the Kedushin, a wonderful zivug, the Shorts, Samet, the Mishpachas, out in the 5 towns. I told Rabbi Bold, I don't know if I'm going to get her in time, but somehow Ergen Shirei Torah, there's always siyata d'shmai. I got here early, Kvitza Saderech. It should be a gewaldige schus for Chos and Kala, a schus that even after the shir tonight, I could still make it back for the end of the chasana. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. Zog the Sam Sefer, that is the very first mitzvah, to be Makabel Avodas Hashem, Yisbarach with the leibedikkeit, with the geschmackkeit, with an emes simcha. I parenthetically Frekter Pinchas Freeman, the Shvilei Pinchas, in a wonderful separate sefer that he penned on in Yonei Bar Mitzvah, Sefer B'niyat and Maimer Chavav. He asks on the Sam Sefer, why is he arguing with the Chedush Yarim in the Sefer Zechus or Tzaddik HaKohen and Tzidkas HaTzadik in the beginning and Oz Dalid and the Chedush Anshe Shem? Why did Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rabbeinu Kodesh, why did he commence all of Shisha Sidrei Mishnah with Meimas Aikonis Kriya Shema Marvis? Why start? God Shah Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. He decides to start so many myriad sundry halachas. Tvarim Gedolim Eidim and Mikra. There's got to be a Tami Yuchad, a Siba Mesiyemes. Why, Rebbe? Why just start with Kriya Shema? Zok the Chedush, the Taisus Anshe Shem Rav Tzaddik, and the Heilige Ger Rebbe. The reason is obvious. What's the first mitzvah Bar Mitzvah boy has? He becomes a Bachar mitzvah the night of Yud Gimel Shana V'Yimach. The very first mitzvah that comes this way is Kriya Shema Darvis. And Mamela, that's why he started. You open up Shas, so it's the first mitzvah. That's Nogea, that's Jermaine. It's Kriya Shema. Sefrekter Shvilei Pinchas. And in Sefer B'niyat, Sam Sefer, you don't agree with all these Gedolim? He says, Avadulach Sam Sefer agrees. The first mitzvah is Kriya Shema. We just had it. Parshas Veschon and Ekev. First Parsha, Kriya Shema. Parshas Veschon and second Parsha appearing in the pages of Parshas Ekev. It's all miyusad and mavusas on Kabbalah, Somachu Shemayim, Kabbalah, so mitzvahs, the intent, the kavona of the Heilige Sam Sefer. is that when you're makabel mechushmayim, when you say your first Kriya Shema, say it with a simcha. That's what the Eibishter wants to see. You became a bocher bar mitzvah, and we're celebrating the bar mitzvah, the heilige arichis of the Yam Shel Shlomo Shomluri and Simul Lamed Zayin and Yam Shel Shlomo Bava Kama in the 7th Perek. And he's marich. He says the makor for Yoni bar mitzvah is the Gemara Kedusha in the bottom of Lamed Aleph. Lamed Aleph. Rabbi Yosef, who was blind, and Machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan, is a summa chayiv upon the mitzvahs. He says, anyone who could tell me that a summa is chayiv mitzvahs. Once I hear Damar Chanina, go to mitzvah v'yosef, maybe Shaina mitzvah v'yosef. I want to get more schar. I want to be a mitzvah v'yosef. You tell me that's how we paskid. Have Yavini Yom Tov the Rabbanan. I'll make a suda for the Talmidim. Rosh Hashiva, as Dr. Ashi would have made a God's festa banquet. Merely upon hearing that he was chayiv mitzvahs. Zok the Yam Shel Shlomo, Achas Kamakama, when you're actually chayiv mitzvahs. Then Avada, when you actually become a bocher mitzvah, halacha l'Moshe Sinai, the famous tshuva, the Rosh, and Klal Zayin and Os Aleph, Einlich Sam Sefer and Tshuvas Kuf Mem Daled and Yordei Nachamol and Shin Yad Zayin, based on the Rama Menuchas Malachim. We know that it's something shaykh to us, not to the Goyim. Halacha Moshe Sinai, Sukkah Hayim and Beis Shur and Mechitz and Chatzitz and halacha Moshe Sinai. You become a bar mitzvah at the age of Gimel. The girl becomes a bas mitzvah at the age of 12. Ayin Nidam and Hayim and Beis. Amela, you get to the age of 13 and 12. What's the first mitzvah? So the Sasai is Simcha. Simcha. What do you mean? I thought it's Kriya Shema. Teretz says it's Zalvazach. Havad it's Kriya Shema. Havad l'chsam seivus mask. Be makabel m'chushamayim. Be makabel on mitzvahs. Be makabel in Simcha. That's what the Eibishter wants to see. That's the first mitzvah, and that's why the Eibishter wants us in the Tochacha, the 98 Klolos appearing on Parshas Kisavos pages. Tachas Sholovato Sholakecha b'Simcha b'Tuvleiva. Eibishter says, I want you to serve me b'Simcha. So, how do we do it? Summer, Kayetz, Tavshin, Pei Daled. Difficult, very painful, Agmas Nefesh filled week. Way too many tragedies. Dailet Saraseno. How can we be Makabo Omachos Shemayim as we go into an Elul? How in the world can we go in a state of Simcha? With all the tsaros that plague, that strike members of Klal Yisrael the world over, there's nothing comparable to a Holocaust, to the Shoah. And how many Yidden can say that they suffer like the Heilige Klosenberger Rebbe Zechat Tzadik V'Kadosh Levracha? Losing his Rebbetzin, losing his family, 11 children, Achmon Litzlan, losing his Chasidus. And he went and he pushed weiter. And he makes his way ultimately to Artzeinu HaKadosh, sets up a new Sans Klozemer Chasidus in Netanya, built from scratch Laniano Hospital. He was once asked, how in the world do you raise money for such a hospital? He says, there is no way. You just ask, it's all the Eibishter. You do your stylist, Eibishter takes care, renews his Sans Klozemer Chasidus, builds Laniano Hospital, gets remarried, has a mishpacha, perpetuates an illustrious Klozemer dynasty. How in the world did he do it? How is it shaykh hazai kochas hanefesh v'kochas haguf? He very often sat on his merpeset, on his patio, on his porch every morning when the yeshiva bachurim would walk to yeshiva. And every so often he would see the bachurim walking by and he would stop a bachur and he'd say, "Nu, Yankee, Yaakov, come over here." He says, "I have a question for you." He says, "Yes, Rebbe, what's the kasha? What's the question?" "My question is, did you get up this morning? Did you have a cup of coffee?" He says, "No, Rebbe, I didn't have a cup of coffee yet." He says, "I want you to have a cup of coffee." He says, "Rebbe, what's pshat? Ma peshat dvorim?" He says, a Yid starts his day with a cup of coffee. And he holds that cup of coffee and he says, the Eibishter, Shakol niyeh b'dvaro, whatever today is going to bring, it's exactly the way the Rebbeinu Shalom wants it to be. Rabbi say this is a close of a Rebbe. He lost everything. His Eish Yisrael is renowned Rebbetzin. He lost his Chasidus. He lost all of his children. He watched the unmatched, indescribable horrors and atrocities perpetrated against Klal Yisrael and Churban Europa. And here he is telling the Bachram, start your day with a cup of coffee. Why? Because if you say Yeshahakon Yebidvaro, with emistik kavana, with kavana ritziya, with kavana amitis, then you should know your day is going to be a good day. It's all going to be great because you're recognizing from the very outset and the early hours of the morning that today is going to be precisely the way the Eibishter wants it to be. So what really is the kavon in the Klosem Megarabba? So this takes us to a famous vart. We actually have it. Someone loved the vart so much he put it on the white chalk coffee cups. So you can never forget this vart. And you must have heard it already in the past. Many attribute it to Avdover Karliner, others to different Hasidic Rebbes. But how does a Yid start his day? You make the cup of coffee. How do you make a cup of coffee? First, you put in the bitter coffee grains. Inherently, they're, of course, bitter. Then you add the sugar, you add the sweetener. So you got the bitter coffee grains, you got the sugar. And you mix the two together. Then you have the hot coffee. You add a bissel milk, a bissel cream, soy milk, almond milk, regular milk, low fat. And you do what? You make it a shtickle cooler. And it started out dark, but after you put in the milk, the cream, and you made it light. A Yid starts this day, you pick up that cup of coffee, and you hold it up high, and you say, Eibishter, is today going to be bitter or sweet? Is it going to be hot or cold? Is it going to be dark or light? There's only one thing I know. Whatever today's going to be, Eibishter Shakol, the Yebed Varo, it's going to be exactly the way the Eibishter wants it to be. It's all part of his master plan. That's how a Yid starts his day, with a geschmack, a cup of coffee. So whether you like drinking Starbucks, you have the money to waste, I don't know, it might be Shaila Bisbis Kesef, especially when you could just get a nice flavored Keurig cup of coffee, or at least even instant, add a bissel hazelnut, a French vanilla. But to throw your money out on Starbucks, or I remember once I saw somebody with a t-shirt that said, Dunkin' Donuts, we don't let you don't drive and drink Starbucks. So whether it's a Dunkin' Donuts with Chol of Yisrael milk, of course, whether it's a Starbucks with Chol of Yisrael milk, whether you go for the Keurig or you go for your instant coffee, that's the kavana. When you get up in the morning, it's a portrait of contrasts. And you hold it up and you say, Eibishter, is today going to be bitter, sweet, dark, cold, hot, or light? We just don't know. But one thing we know, it's going to be exactly the way the Ribono Shalom wants it to be. But what really is the kavana even in that? Well, it's very geschmack. If you look at the new editions of the Kedushas Levi, the Heilige Baditzver, they have meisim in the back of the Sefer. And one meis is the Heilige Baditzver once visited the Chosem Milublin. And the Chosem Milublin, being an Achsanya, so he said, Kedushas Levi Baditzver, can I offer you a cup of coffee? Shalagish, Kos Cafe, says, Amanda, you can give me a cup of coffee. So he prepared a cup of coffee. How do you make the cup of coffee? You make the coffee and then you put in the milk. And the Baditzver looks to the Chayz and he says, no, it should be a cafe afuch. The origins, perhaps, latte, cappuccino, cafe afuch. What does that mean? The opposite. He says, first you should put in the milk and then you should add the coffee. Chosem Milublin looks at the Heilige Baditzver. He says, why nobody makes a coffee that way? You don't put in the milk first. First you put in the coffee, and then you gradually, ever slowly pour in the milk to get to the right geschmacka, color and flavor that you like. So in the end of the day, why do it a kaveh avuch? He says, because a Yid has to start his day with going into the mikvah. But not everybody's zeicha to be tovel. Practically speaking, in the memself of a mikvah each and every morning. So you know what? You have to make a makeshift mikvah. What's your quasi-like mikvah? You'll have that cup of coffee. First, you'll put in the chalav. Chalav is ches lamed beis. That's ches lamed beis, gematria 40. Gematria mem. That's the letter mem in the aleph beis. First, you add the chalav, the milk. That's a mem. Then you add the kaveh. Many chassidish coffee cups. The best of kaveh is the kaveh al Hashem. Kaveh al Hashem chazig yatzedach v'kaveh al Hashem tehillim. The David Hashem or the Yishik the Chavzayin. The very last pasuk, Rabbi said, pasuk Gedalid, keeping in mind brachas yud beis around the kahol echachra chisub. So it comes down to what? Kaveh al Hashem. The best of kaveh is kaveh al Hashem. Start out with the cholav, ches lamed beis, gematria 40, gematria mem. Now add the kaveh, kuf vav hey. Juxtapose the kaveh, kuf vav hey to the mem. And what you spell mikvah? If you can't actually go into a mikvah, at least drink one. Don't drink the mem self a mikvah. But drink the makeshift bechina of the mikvah. Okay, gewaldig, samamela. That's what you have. You have your own little mikvah. But what's the word of mikvah? Be told the meidas in the mikvah. What's the meidas in the mikvah? Like of Dover Kalina, the whole word is Eibishter, whatever today is going to be, I accept it from the very outset. Makabel, everything you send my way. I'll continue to daven Kaveh el Hashem, Chasav K'yamas Becha v'Kaveh el Hashem. But I recognize Shakoni Yebet Varo. It's exactly the way the Ribono Shalom wants it to be. That's what we're thinking of. So, Baisel, allow me to ask you a question. Sure, it bothered many here. What's pshat? It happens to be my favorite bracha, Shakoni Yebet Varo. Within Shahakol, just like it's the bracha Clearly, it's the all-encompassing general bracha, but you're always yotzi with the shahakol. Just the words themselves, everything came into being. All ayaday, the dibur of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Chaim Kanevsky, I saw, was asked this very question. What's pshat shakoni b'dvaro? L'chayra, it's not true. We just had in last week's Perkei Avos, Perkei Mishnah Aleph, Basora Mamoris, and Nevrola. Take a look at the opening narrative in Parshas Bereshis and Sefer Bereshis. Vayomer, Vayomer, Vayomer. 9 Vayomers. Rosh Hashanah Daf Lamed Beis. Bereshis Nami Maimer. Who? I in the Gra Neder Salio. I in the Sforna. What was created with the word, the utterance of Bereshis, the beginning of Zman. Dahainu now, henceforth, Mekana Lama. There's a musig of Zman. That's Bereshis Nami Maimer. Who? And then what do we encounter? Vayomer, Vayomer, Vayomer. Hence, the appropriate conjugation of Asora Mamoris and Nevraul. So if we're referencing the fact that Eibishter put everything into the law, what should be the appropriate terminology? We can ask the kasha. It should be shakol nihiyah or nihiyah, whatever your nusach is. It should be shakol nihiyah b'ma'amoro, not b'dvoros. I saw the Esther Chaim the kasha. And Rav Lipi Yisrael since Sa'oris that he collected from Chaim on the Siddur. And Chaim answered. It's all based on David HaMelech and Tehillim, Kapitel Lamed Gimel and Pasuk Vav. B'dvar Hashem shamayim nasu. So David HaMelech, he cites this Indian Ayaday what? Not the Lashon of a Maimer, but rather the Lashon of a Dibur. B'dvar Hashem shamayim nasu. Okay, Ad Kanu Chayv Kesker. Rabbi Say. So let's ask this question of David HaMelech. When they coined, they gave us the matbeya, the nusach habrocha. They decided to go be'ikvas David HaMelech. So we take a look at Tehillim, and it says in Lamed Gimel Pasuk Vav, Bidvar Hashem Shashem. David HaMelech, we have the kasha. Yes, the Arizal writes based on the Zohar, and the Gra says he was the greatest Baruch HaKodesh in history. And the Ari HaKodesh says based on the Zohar, every single word of Tehillim was said Mila b'Mila Baruch HaKodesh. So clearly, if it's Al Pi Ruach HaKodesh, one has to question, why is it Bidvar Hashem? It should be B'Maimer Hashem Shema. So I say perhaps we could suggest the following. We have Asora Mamoris and Evola Minovas Parakei Mishnah Aleph, and of course we have in Yisro and Nachamol and Veschonon, we have the Aseres Adibros. And it's called the Aseres Adibros because anyone who opens up the pages of Yisro, what do we witness? We witness Vayedaber, Kol HaDvarim Ha'ila. It's all expressed as a Lashon of Dibur. Now we know the Gemara in Makis, second parak, Tabi Yud Aleph, and Aleph, Amira connotes a Lashon Racha, and Dibur connotes a Lashon Kosher. Hence, in Parshas Yisro, Parak Yotes, Posek Dalet, Kosomer Lebeis Yaakov, Vesagi Lebnei Yisrael, Amira Lashon Racha to the Neshei Yisrael, and Sagi Kosher Kegidim, Vigadatol Levincha. That's going to be Kosher Kegidim, and Me'ain of Lashon of Dibur, and that's Dibur, that's Lashon Kosher to the Bnei Yisrael. So you have the Banim versus the Banas, you have Dibur versus Amir. So besides the Gemara Makkas and Vada, we have many distinctions drawn by the Gra, by the Malbim, by the Marel, by Rav Hirsch, and so many others. But I want to share with you a Gavaldik Mahalech that I saw in the Sefer Redife Maya and Bir Shemus Arnadofim, author Ayadeh, a Talmud of the Gra from the base Medrash, the Gra, the Baal, Drosha, Safika, Yehuda, Hayam, and Agadatas and Chas, and he wrote a thin Sefer called Redife Maya. And in Redife Maya, he two questions. This world famous quandary, why an Amira, why a Dibur? Why are there so many Vayomer Hashem Moshe Lemers? L'Uma, so many Vaydar Hashem Moshe Lemers. Where lies the Hevdil? What's the Chilik B'neihem? Zokter Difemaya Geshmak. He says Amira means that somebody is speaking and there happens to be a recipient, there happens to be a listener. But there's no context of a yachasi she necessarily between the two parties, the speaker and the listener. And thus, every soliloquy dotting the pages of Tanakh, it's always expressed as Vayomer. Vayomer Hashem Belibo. Vayomer Esav Belibo. And Parshas told us, Yikravuli Me'eval Avi V'chulei. Vayomer Haman Belibo on the pages of Megillah Esther. He's speaking to himself. There's no yachas, no meaningful, substantial relationship with another party. Mashen Kain. What's Vayadar Hashem Moshe Lemor? God or anyone who's speaking is not speaking to someone, he's speaking with someone. What's his raya? His raya, Starka raya, is from the Targum Onkelos, keeping in mind Megillah Daf Gimel and Aleph. Targum Onkelos is part and parcel, the chelik of our hallowed, cherished Messiah. And we know that Targum Onkelos comes from Sinai. Onkelos says, Vayomer Hashem Moshe Lemar, V'amar Hashem Limay Shelameimar. Tahainu, the Eibishter is speaking to Moshe, God is speaking, and Moshe Rabbeinu happens to be the listener. He's speaking to Moshe, but he's not speaking with Moshe. Masha'enkein Lumas every Vayomer. We witness every Vayadaber Hashem Moshe Lemar. Zok Targum Onkelos. What's Vayadaber Yedaber Umalel Hashem im Moshe Lemeimar. Eibishter is not speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, he's speaking with Moshe Rabbeinu. There's a Yachas Ishi, a pre-existing, meaningful, substantial relationship between the speaker and the listener. So now it's very gishmak. Ad kan the Redife Maya. Based on the chiluk, the distinction that he expressed, we understand now it's moving Me'ilov. Why do we have the Asura Mamoris who must have Asura Sedibros, but now it's very gishmak? Asura Mamoris, there was no Bar Das, there was no Baal Bechira at the beginning of creation. The Eibishter cannot possibly have been speaking with anyone. There was no Adam, there was no Chava. Until day 6 of creation, so every Vayomer was Ke'ilu B'Bechinas a soliloquy. The Eibishter was speaking, hence Vayomer Shem Moshe Leimer. Therefore, you open up Ovis Aleph, Bimishan Aleph, and Perakei, Vasar Mamoris, and Volam. Eibishter was speaking, Kaviyachot to himself. Mashenkin, what was that Sarah Sedibros all about? Sarah Sedibus is all about the relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem Yisbarach as the Chasan, and we as the Kalo, the greatest Chasan ever. That, of course, is Matan Torah. That is the Aruch HaShulchan and Eben Ezra, Semalam Dalit and Siv Dalit, and Rav Pinchas Levi Horowitz and his Dagdom Sefer HaMakan and Nos Gimel, and what he writes in his Aflong Ksuvas by the Sigya Shever Baruch the bottom of Zayim and Beis and Ksuvas, that what was Kaflei Mar Kigigis, when he opened up Shabbos by Chesam and Aleph, and the Eibishter had the mountain hovering perilously overhead. What was that? That was the Chuppah. That was the chuppah. We got married to the Eibishter at Har Sinai. I state in the Mishnah that opens up a Seches Kedushin, the first parak, the longest parak in all of Shas. He sheniknes v'shos rochav v'konesatz shtei rochav. He sheniknes v'kesser shtar rabi v'konesatz v'beget. Umemisa sabal. He sheniknes kesser shtar biu. Where was the star? Zok the Baal HaTurim. Zok the Rokeach and Yisro parak Yates. That was the Shtar Ksuba. That was the Decalogue, the Aseret Sedibros. It was all about the relationship between us and the Eibishter. A chosin has to make a kala happy the first year. Parenthetically, they asked Chaim Knesset in the Sefer Derech Sicha. Rav Eli Yaman asked him, what's the nafkamina, the practical application, halach l'maisa nowadays, that a chosin has to make the kala happy the first year? It's up to Chaim Knesset. The chosin can't go anywhere without asking the kala permission first. Whenever I say this over, the woman say, why didn't you tell me that years ago? First year, the husband can't go anywhere with that because she owns it. She's got him on a leash. You can't go anywhere without asking permission from the Kala first. That's the ultimate Simcha, to be in proximity, to be in the company with her husband. So the Eibishter is the Chassan, we the Kala, as we see from all the Midrash Chazal, Rashi and the Gra, the beginning of Shashir, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Beis, based on the Midrashim before Rashi, that the Eibishter got married to Klal Yisrael. So Hashem has to keep us there for a year, which is exactly what he did. I in the Maral and Gorari, Parshas Emor, and again in Parshas Balaischa, Eibishter kept us there for a year, collectively at the Piedmont of Sinai, because Eibishter was Bebechinas the Chassan, Kavayachu, we were the Kala, and you have to be a Samech the Kala, Shanari Shainim. Kept us there for a year, was Mekanishos with the star of the Aser Sedibus, keeping in mind the Ramban, Perachaf, and Parshas Yisrael. Why two? The Eibishter couldn't fit 10 commandments onto one tablet of Adi could. So what's two? Yes, Beinonu L'Mokim, Beinon L'Chavero, and writes the Ramban based on the Medrash. It's Keneged Chassan the Kala, Keneged the Shnei Shishbin, and being Malav of the Chassan Kala, respectively. Two tablets, Chassan Kala, stuck together as one. That's what Shavuos is all about. Zaman, not Kabbalas Torah. Rabbi say, I'm sorry to break it to you, we never got the Torah Shavuos time. The Shavuos was merely Zaman Matan Torseno. So Shlomo Kluger is Medayik and his Rosh is called the Shlomo, Ramesh Shapiro and Afik Yamayim and others. That's now referred to in the context of Nusach HaTfilah Zaman Kabbalas Torseno. It's merely referred to as what? It's branded the appellation, the choice title of Zman and Matan Torseno Ayadei Nesina Satira. We entered an eternal covenantal relationship. Hashem Yisbarach as the Chosim Kaviyachol, and we Bnei Yisrael as the Kalo. We got married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Shavuos is all about. Ayadei Matan Torseno. The Eibishter gave us an asina of the greatest item in the world. Kilech Kachtov Nasati Lachem. Zokt the Gemara Bachas Tafayim and Alfein Tov LaTorah Shenemar and Mishlei Park Dalet Pasuk Beis. We got married to the Eibishter. That's what Shavuos is all about. That is the chasana, the greatest one ever between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Aser Sedibros Lefiyanias Daiti, not Aser Mamoris. It can only be Dibros because Alpi, the chiluk of the Redife Maya, it's all about the relationship, the Yachas Ishi that we have between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyach. Aser Mamoris Nivra Olam and Aser Sedibros. So now we return to our question, why is it that the nusach of perhaps the most oft-recited bracha, Shakol Niyeh B'Dvaro, what shot? That's not true. Shakol, everything came into being, Ayidei what? The Maimer, Shakol Niyeh B'Mamoro, Lefinias Taiti. We're not interested in merely relaying historical fact. We see bandied about Gan Shas, Maida Hava Hava, whatever was. I'm not interested in merely relaying what happened historically 5,784 years ago. What am I interested in? I'm holding a cup of water. And what do we know? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. What are we thinking? Hashem Yisborach as the melech haolam had this water come down 5,784 years ago, Rabbi Say. Because let's keep in mind, as Tom Standage writes in his bestseller, History of the World in 6 Glasses, the most popular drink, of course, is water. And believe it or not, he points out there's no new water in the world since the time of creation. All the water that we drink today is recycled water. Condensation, evaporation. It most likely went through the bodies of dinosaurs. I hope you still can enjoy the next cup of water. Yes, it went through the bodies of various animals, but there's no new water in the world. It's all the same recycled water. But what? But this cup of coffee at 9:34 and 30 seconds, and I'm holding in my hand, the Eibishter created this water. It might have poured in Seattle, Washington a week ago, and Poland Spring bought it over here, and the trucking company, and the bottling company, and they got all together. The Melech Olam orchestrates every chelik in the Bria. He decided, the Eibishter decided, his intricately woven tapestry of what his master plan is all about, that I should have the schus to drink this cup of coffee by the Heilige Irgun Shirei Torah in this Heilige crowd at 9:34, 59 seconds. Eibishter, thank you. This cup of water came in all because the Eibishter, the Melech Olam, created Ach V'Rak for me at this specific moment in time. Geschmack. Shakol niyeh, not b'mamara. I don't want to share historical fact. It's all in the context of the relationship. Lefinis taiti. That's why David Melech writes B'dvar Hashem Shemnayisu, and that's Mamela why they will naseach the nusach. Shakol niyeh b'dvaro. Eibishter designed this cup of coffee for you. You wake up in the morning and you have that cup of coffee. He stamped it with your name, Ach V'Rak, that you should enjoy that morning. It's all about the relationship. That's what life is all about. And when you shtel too, back to the close of Rebbe, now it all comes together and it's so geschmack. How does a yid start his day? You make that cup of coffee. And yes, it's a portrait of contrast. I don't know what today's going to bring. I don't know what's going to happen when I open up the news. And I'm afraid, am I going to read about another soldier, Rachmana litzlan? Am I going to read about another hostage they didn't find alive? Am I going to read, Rachmana litzlan, about another drowning, another horrific car accident? What's going to be? Eibishter, I thought you want me to be Simcha. You want me. You're telling me, if there was Hashem Simcha and the Taich is what? If I get up in the morning and I started my day like the Heilige Klosenberg, and I got up and I said with Kavanah, meet this Eibishter, Shakoni Yabedvo, it's exactly the way the Rebbe wants it to be. Then you're right, it's going to be tough. It's going to be filled with life's vicissitudes, a roller coaster, ups and downs. But what? I start my day knowing all the while that whatever it's going to be, it's going to be in accordance with the Eibishter's intricately designed and devised master plan. It's going to be exactly, precisely the way the Ribono Shel Olam wants it to be. And that's what I'm a kabel. Because I know from Menachem Gamzu, the Sigan Tainis Gamzu L'Taiva. And I know from his Talmud, Rabbi Akiva was Meshamish for 22 years. The Gemara Chagiga, I know from the Gemara Brachos, Samach Hamad Beis, Rabbi Akiva is the one to tell us, Kamad Dabra Achman L'Tavavid, it's all going to be for good. Yes, the Heilige Best explained, Menachem Gamzu was the Hayim Adrega. He didn't have to wait to L'Tavavid, that everything the Eibishter does one day is going to be for good. He could point right now, Zekili Van Veo, Gamzu L'Taiva, Menachem Gamzu, right here and right now it's good. Ad Kedekach, you ever wonder, Rabbi Say, why is his name Menachem Gamzu? It should be Menachem Gamzu L'Taifa. Ikar Chosim and Asefer. What's wrong? Menachem is the man of Gamzu. This too what? This too L'Chayra. It should be Menachem's got teretzes. He was holding on Azai Madriga. Even if I can't be'emetz see the Tov, I know that it's there. Menachem Gamzu. I know that there's great here. I know it's kilo. I can point. I don't have to see it with my own eyes, but I know it's there. When they told the Kotzker Rebbe on Sukkot that there's another Hasidic Rebbe in town who is visited by the Zioner speech in the Zohar Emor, and he sees Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe, and Yosef, they come to a sukkah. He says, can you believe it? Kotzker Rebbe, he gets to see the Yishpisid. He says, that doesn't impress me. That Rebbe needs to see them to believe that they're there. I don't need to see them to know that they're in my sukkah. He needs to see them. Seeing is believing. But what? We know in America we can't make up our mind. What you see is what you get. There's more than meets the eye. Teretz says if you're living in the Olam HaGashmi, what you see is what you get. But if you're dwelling in the Olam HaRuchni, there's always more that meets the eye. Tachazi and Chas, Tashma and Bavli, Tachazi and Chas Yerushalmi. And in the Zohar Kodesh explains the Ben Ish Chai, Chelik Kedushim, the beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha. Why? Because we have a Gemara Bava Master, Kufran Chesed Beis, Avidah Tzomachkim. When you go there, so there's a Chachma, you see things with Clarkite. Amela Tachazi, Lo Teishmi Gedol Maria. And now it's a sort of Chazi, you could see it. That's where Rabbi Eytan penned the Talmud Yerushalmi. That's where the Rashbi of Talmidav gave us the Zohar and the Tikkunei Zohar. Tachazi, but in Baba Chutzlarts, it's merely Tashma. It's only Begeder Shmiya. You ever wonder, by the way, now you can be Medayik next time somebody says, you know, Rabbi, I hear what you're saying. No, I see what you're saying. Well, which one is it? Is it a Tachazi? Tashma, Tachazi is the Haim Adrega. Rabbi say, I see what you're saying. That's the Haim, that's Rav Zera, Dr. Rashbam, of Basu Kavchaches, Rakas, Amadati, Elamita, Sadvarim, that's the Clarkite. You want to be able to see it. Kotzker Rebbe says, I know that they're there, I don't need to see it. Gamzu L'Tova, I don't need to see the Tova. Gamzu, it's as if I could point because I know it's there. That's Nachamish Gamzu, that's Rabbi Akiva. I know that everything the Eibishter does, it's in exact accordance with his tapestry that was so brilliantly woven, Kaviyachol, L'mayla min hazman, L'mayla min hateva, and it's all for our best. And if you start your day, Shakoni B'dvo, recognizing that the Eibishter has a plan, then in the day it's all going to be good. So l'chayr, as we get set for Chodesh Elul Haba Aleinu L'Tova, and we know there are countless Ramazim. I in the Sefer Neflos Mitorasecha, so many Rosh Tevis and Sofer Tevis throughout all of Tanakh, highlighting Elul. We have the Rizal, I in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We have so many Ramazim, but the most famous one worldwide is, of course, the Heilige Rizal, Alpi Sher Shir and Perikval Posek Gimel Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi. Tahainu, out of all the Nyanim of the Ramazim, all the subtle illusions, if we were to capture the essence of Elul Chodesh Elul Haba Aleinu L'Tova, it's all encapsulated in what? In that phrase, Shir Hashirim, that the love song between Shalom HaMelech and Chacham Kaladim and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibishter as the Chosen, we as the Kala. A reference to Yitzias and Shaim and the culmination thereof, Ayidei Matan Torah, as Rashi in the Grove, based on the Midrashi, Shir Hashirim make absolutely clear. That means what? We got married to the Eibishter and he is our beloved. Hence, a few times, but the famous Posuk in Perek Vav, Posuk Gimel, Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li Haro B'Ashal Shonim. This is when the Melech is besonda. He's here with us, Chodesh Elul, Ani L'Dodi, I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. That's the Yachas Ishi, the Yachas Priti, Shakoni Yebidvaro. Everything the Eibishter does, it's a unique one-on-one relationship. Hashkacha Pratis, exactly the way your life is supposed to be, the Kol Echad V'Echad. That's Chodesh Elul, it's Ani. Stop looking around at everybody else. Stop observing everybody else's life. As Rav Huna used to tell us, Tamidim, even when, what are you donning anybody for? Stop looking around. I always say the very first lesson in Pirkei Avos before I even get to the most famous mission, Shimon HaTzadik, Hai B'Shirik and Gadola. And what did he tell us? The world rests on three things, as one Rav once told me, Ala Kesef, Ala Moment, V'Ala Gelt. We'll rest at, okay, that's not our nusach. Unser nusach is Torah, Avoda, Gemilas Chasadim. The world rests, and the people think, oh, that's Mishnah. That's not Mishnah Aleph. That's Shimon HaTzadik Mishiori. But let's go to Hachik and Gadol Mehem Hayunavim Chagei Zachayim Olochi. And they told us that they had thousands of things to say. And here in the moral and ethical compass, the guidebook of every Yid's life, you know, the very first thing, Sefer Basarei Shagar, the very first message on our book, our Heilige Sefer, that contains therein all the lessons we need to be a mensch, to be an emes Kabbalah Yer Shemayim. First message is have a Masunim Adin. Slow down. And as the Maral and others explain, Lam Dafka to Dayanim when they're donning a din Torah, everybody, stop donning, everybody l'chov. Slow down with Mesidas. Don't judge your chaver so quickly. And you know what? Kaviyocho, don't judge the Eibishter so quickly. Don't rush to get angry at the Eibishter. Don't rush to say, Hashem, how can you do this? How can you take away this young husband? 49 years old, how can you leave so many assignments? Hostages now, 10 plus months later. How can you do it, Eibishter? Have a Masunim Adim. Slow down. Eibishter's got a plan. And one day we're going to see when Mashiach comes from Hey Rabbi Yameinu. He's going to unfold the course of history. As Shlomo Kluger writes in Drosha Shto Kach, also b'Moshav Lafanai. When Moshe questions, Zoe Torah, Zoe Schor, how can you do this to Rabbi Akiva? Eibishter says, I have to take it in the beginning of time. And he mastered the world to Tovavo. Not that Eibishter's threatening Kaviyachah to destroy the world. You want to understand why Rabbi Akiva, why Yisurim and Malchus has to be taking place right now. Yisurim Naroyim. I got to press the rewind button. I got to take it back to the beginning of creation and show you little by little the interplay of all the billions of people who have doubted planet Earth, and the interplay and the interconnection of all the millions, billions, trillions, limitless events and all the course of history, and the sort of Gilgal as Ramban is Marach and Shargul. You want to understand? We can't understand. The storm dark Hashem. You know what David still wants? He wants us what? Just keep serving me, b'simcha. Because know all the while, emunah b'tochen. It's all part of my master plan, the Eibishter says. There's no reason to question. That's why, as Rav Tzadok Cohen writes, in a number of places in his Sfarim, Yisrael Kadoshim and Ozvav, and so many places throughout Sefer Rav Tzadok, every Maimer Chazal appears in an Agadato and a Masechta for a reason. So where is that famous memra that all 613 mitzvahs come down to but one? There's one Yesod, one basis of all Taryag mitzvahs. And we have the Gemara, the Anamakis, Chav Gimel Amud Beis already begins, Dorish Rabbi Simlai. We got 613, Torah Tzivul Anamasha, Torah's Gematria 611, Anochi V'lo Yachem and Pia Gevura Shimon, and here we are now in Chav Dalet Aman Aleph, 611 and 2 is 613, not coincidentally. By the way, he was the Bala Memra. Rabbi Simlai, the Fianiyas Daiti, the Gematria of Kir Rabbi Simlai is exactly 613. Makes a lot of sense. Ramban Tashbates might even be a machlokes. The Rabbak says the number 613 is Lodak. How do we get the number 613? Rabbi Simlai, Kir Rabbi Simlai, in accordance with this opinion, is equaling exactly 613. And the Gemara says the end of Maseches Makas. Bachavaka Gamidan Alachas Chavakuk in the Treyasar tells us Perak Beis Pasuk Daled V'Tzadik B'Manosa Yichya. A Yid lives on Emunah. That is the key to life. All 613 mitzvahs come down to Tzadik B'Nosar Yichya. So we all believe, Eibishter Kamad of Rachmana. What do you? I went to Yeshiva. I went to Beis Yaakov. I had great parents. Everybody knows Gamzul Taifa. Kamad of Rachmana. We all believe it. Yeah, intellectually believe it. Like the Kotzker Rebbe explained, the longest journey in the world is from the mind to the heart. Not just have Emunah B'Seichel, have Emunah B'Chush. We all believe it, but do we feel it? Do we live it in our bones? Zogt Rabbi Yosef Chaim, the Heilige Ben Ish Chai, a murdike gematria. You want to be a tzaddik in life? Ask the Ben Ish Chai. Tzaddik b'manoshe yechet. Tzaddik lives inside Emunah. The appropriate wording ought to have been tzaddik im manoshe yechet. You live with Emunah. You don't live inside Emunah. Zogt the Ben Ish Chai in his Ben Yoyoda the Anamakis Chavdalet Aman Aleph. You want to be a tzaddik needs beis Emunah. You need Emunah b'moach, b'rosh, rishon levar, b'seichel, and likewise you need Emunah b'leiv and chush. Emunah's gematria 102. 102 and 102 is 204. Gematria tzaddik. You want to be a tzaddik? Of a tzaddik beis emunos, v'tzaddik be'emunos yichya. A tzaddik lives with beis emunos, emunah b'moach, emunah b'leiv, emunah plus emunah is 102, 102, or 204. That's gematria tzaddik. And thus Noach, yes, we know Noach was a big tzaddik. And if you didn't know it, then you sing the song. Every yid's a big tzaddik. Noach is a big tzaddik, from the Kepulot to the Fitzala. He's a great tzaddik. State in Posik, he's a tzaddik. Come on, he's a tzaddik gomer, right? The Biskarov based on Targum Uklos. And yet, fast forward in Parsha Noah, Perek Zion, Posik Zion, Rashi di Bermaskim, Bnei Mei Amabel, Soktei the Rashi af Noach, Vikatani Amun Hayamam, Venamam Shiava Mabot, Shedachku Amayim, Venichas Teva. He waited. Noach, what are you doing waiting? Hey, Mr. told you it's going to rain. It's got to be as if it's mamish raining already. He's a tzaddik, but he has Kadnes Amunah. Tzaddik has to have it not only in his moch, he has to have it in his life. That's Rav Henoch Leibowitz and the Chur Shalei Parshas Noach, the Steibler Brachas Peretz, the Drash Ve'ian, and other Sfarim as well. Noach might have been a tzaddik b'moach, but to be believe is I got to live it. I always could talk about Emunah B'tochen, but you live with Emunah B'tochen inside your hearts. So yes, Rabbi said we're filled with the world of tzoros and befrat, both in Kloli, Klai Yisrael, Eis Tzorah Yaakov. But as we journey into a world of Chodesh Elul, what are we thinking of? What's under the spotlight? Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. Dehaina, what it's all about, the relationship. How are we going to get ready for Yom Noraim? It's all got to start and piggyback on what? On this Yesod, Ani l'dodi, it's all about the relationship. It's all about Chakoni Yevavor, knowing the Eibishter is watching, both in Prati Yeshkach, Pratis Kol Echad V'Yechad. Both in Prati B'Ofen Kloli, the Eibishter says, I got a plan, and just trust me. Don't think about it. Let it trickle down into the heart. Make it part and parcel. Let it course through your veins. Let it be b'chush. Let it be believed that I mamish believe. When David Ben Gurion approached the Ponevetz Harav, and he told the Ben Ponevetz Harav, we have to take the Bachram out of Yeshiva. And they have to go to the army because we need bitachon, we need security. Ponevetz Harav famously answered Ben Gurion, he says, there are two ways to pronounce the word. There's the Tami La'el, And that's bitachon, and there's the tam milael is bitachon, and there's the tam milara, which is bitachon. He says, you want to be milara, then you pronounce it bitachon, security. I want to be milael, and I pronounce it bitachon, amuna bitachon. I believe in having betucha, b'tech Hashem, chesed yisovenu. Says, which bitachon do you want? You want bitachon, security, or you want bitachon? So yes, we need to have tzahal, we need to have an army, we need to do our shtadlus avada. But let's not forget that Muna B'tochen, sitting in yeshiva, sitting, learning, steiging, b'nei Torah, avreichim, Yomalites, steiging with Torah, steiging with Dvekis, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I remember once I asked, way before October 7th, years ago, even pre-COVID, there was a bomb threat on one of the shuls in the tri-state area. I was there in Eretz Yisrael. I went into Rav Chaim Kanevsky and I asked Rav Chaim, the Sarah Torah, the Golden Ador, do we have to pay for security in our shul? Rav Chaim looked at me and he said, if nobody talks in davening, you don't need any security. So I looked at Rav Chaim and I said, he said, so, but if nobody talks and everyone's just learning and davening, you don't need bitachon. You don't need bitachon, you need bitachon. Tami la'el versus tami la'ra. And it's the same thing with Simcha. Moshe Wolfson, Zechat Tzadik Levrocha. He writes in a few places, Amunas Yitecha, Parshas Kisavo, and Yonei Sukkos as well, based on the Hersheyan world of phonetic cognates. The Hainu words that sound alike and Lashon HaKodesh are so often interrelated. So the word Simcha sounds like what? To be somech. Dr. Moshe Wolfson, if you're somech on the Eibishter, you'll always be Simcha. You have emistik amur b'tochen. And you're living with Hashem in your life, not just thinking about it, not just a Shacharis min Chamariv, but all day long you're talking to Hashem Yisparach. And as the Shimshon Pikus writes in his masterful Teferes Shimshon, last week's Parsha Ekev, what does the Pasuk say? V'ata Yisom Hashem Shol Mimcha, Kiyim Liyira, Zuk the Gemara Menachas Mem Gimel Beis, Atu Kimal Lameya, David was Masakin Mebrach Choyom. What's that all about? Zuk the Shimshon Pikus. Yes, you have a Shacharis min Chamariv, Givaldik. Brachas Chavavam and Beis Tfilos Avos Tikkum. You have your three Tfilos Mesudoros. But you know what the Eibishter wants? He doesn't want you to talk to him just 3 times a day. He gave us Meir Bracha so we could converse with the Eibishter Kaviyachol 100 times a day. 100 small brachas. It can be a shahakol, brain nefashis, Pokeach Ivrim. Asuli Kotzarki, 100 brachas give the Eibishter. Why, Dr. Shishabigas? Because just like in a husband-wife relationship, what does the wife want? She wants a relationship. But what do you mean, anniversary? You get her a nice piece of jewelry. You got a nice anniversary. You take her a nice Pesach. Whatever you do, in the end of the day, what does the wife want? She wants the text messages. She wants the phone call. She wants the chocolate left in her purse. What's a well-balanced diet for any Bas Yisrael? Chocolate in the right hand, chocolate in the left hand. You can't go wrong with chocolate, a lot of candy, a card under a pillow in her purse, on the refrigerator. What does she want? The small talk. You think it's insignificant? There is nothing insignificant. What's the marriage? I want you to talk to me. I want you to think about me. The Eibishter says, Dr. Pincus, it's the same thing. If we're married to Hashem, you know what he wants? Shachas Urchmav Churchashek Givaldik. You're an Olachiyad, Murdak. Know what he wants? Talk to me all day long. Speak to me 100 brachas 100 times a day. Small talk. They seem to be brachas ketzaras. Talk to me. I want a relationship. I thought I need the dodi v'dodi li. So that's what friends do. That's what my beloved does. We talk to each other. Haroah b'shoshanim. We go out for a spatzir. We go out grace. We go on a walk together. Chatzkel Abramsky used to come on Bein Astarim. And a Talmud was wondering, he used to go on a walk with his Rebbetzin. And the Talmud said, Gemara the Anabrachas, Sambeis Amanalef Kanra, Torah Hivul Amanani Tzor, said the Talmud secretly followed his Rebbe, Rav Chatzkel Abramsky. I want to see what's he talking to his Eishes Chayil about. And he said, his Eishes Chayil said, Rav Chatzkel, what'd you eat for lunch today? This is what I had for lunch today. Yeah, and it was cooked like this. And how'd you like it? It was delicious. And then what'd you say the shiur on today? I said shiur on this. And how was the cab ride to yeshiva? How was the driver? Was it nice? This is one of the Gedolei Hador, Rav Chatzkel Abramsky. The Chazon Yecheskel, and he's talking small talk. And then he asked his Rebbe, he said, that's what the Yisrael Chaya wants. So just talk to her all day long. It's exactly what she wants. She wants you to speak to her. All day long, have a conversation. That's what the Eibishter wants. That's ani l'dodi v'dodi li. How are you going to be b'simcha day? Because whenever the Eibishter sends my way, we're married to each other. An eternal bris olam, ava rabin, ava soilim. So whatever the Eibishter wants. It's exactly in the context of a seris dibrus of shakona yibid varo. Have ani l'dodi v'dodi. That's exactly the way the Rosh Hashanah wants it to be. Great shot, a drush that I heard years ago. Sorry, Meno, we know Kula and Shovel Lataiva is that three-word hesped that Avram Avinu Vayova, Avram lisped the Surah of Levkosa, stayed in Pasuk in the beginning of Parshas Chayei, Surah 127. Zokt Rashi, she was Bas Kuf Kebas Chof V'chule. I heard a drush years ago, what's Tehillim Kapitel Chof? Lamnetzeach Mizmor L'David Yanech Hashem B'Yom Tzara. And what's Kapitel Kuf? Mizmor L'Soida, Hariyah L'Hashem, it's Ivdu As Hashem B'Simcha. Kulon Shovin Lataiva. Klape Sorry Mena, whether it was the good times or the bad times. Kulon Shovin Lataiva. My hi, Sorry Mena, she got married state. And the Sefer Yosher, Avram Avinu was 25, she was 15. She only had a Yitzchak 75 years later at the age of 90. She had to deal with a Hagar, she had to deal with Yishmael. She was taken captive. This is Kulon Shovin Lataiva. So it says, Bas Kaf Kabas Chof, and Sorry Menu's Mabat HaChaim in her worldview and perspective. And whether it was Yanech Hashem B'Yom Tzara, Kapitel Chaf, whether it was Mizmor L'Saida, Ivdu As Hashem B'Simcha, Kapitel Kuf, it was all the same, Kulan, Shavan, L'Taiva. Because it was exactly what the Ribono Shalom wants for me. It's what he wants for me, it's what he wants for me and Avram, it's what he wants for those starting out Klal Yisrael. That's how we get ready for Yom Narom, Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. It's all about the relationship. Mela, there is a way to serve the Eibishter. B'simcha. Because it starts with Chodesh Elul. Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. We could always be b'simcha because that relationship is never going away. The same Ramosha Wolfs and Amunis Yitzecha told us that Simcha is to be Samech. If you're Samech and Eibishter, you'll always be Simcha. If you feel Ne'etzav, somewhat downcast and depressed, it's because you feel Ne'ezav, abandoned by the Eibishter. But the first question we ever have to know, whenever we feel removed distance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, who moved? Who moved? The Eibishter didn't go anywhere, Kaviyachol. We feel a richok, we feel distance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we feel the Ani L'Daidi. And it's not Anachnu L'Dodi, it's Ani, Kol Echad V'Yechad. Everybody individually writes the Shem Yishmael Parsha Shoftim. Going back to Makas Chavdal and Raf. Oh, Torah, Anochi V'lechem Mipia Gevura. Shomanim, why Mipia Gevura? Gevura is the Eibishter Midas Hadin. Everybody had their own one-on-one unique relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and everybody heard the first two dibros. Anochi V'lecha, one-on-one Kefi Dargaso, Kefi Tchunas Nasho, Kefi Tivo, and Ofio. In accordance with your talents, abilities, that's how you heard the Eibishter speak to you. Mipia Gavura Shamon, exactly in the context of a one-on-one relationship. Ani L'Dodi, not Anachnu. It's Ani L'Dodi, V'Dodi, not Lanu, V'Dodi Li. There's a one-on-one relationship, and the Eibishter has a master plan for each and every one of us. We will not get 1 ounce of pain more than we need to bring out our kaiches, maximize our potential. But at the same time, Eibishter cheshbons to give us the exact measure of simcha and sorrow. That's Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. So I'd like to close with the following message. Chaim Kanievsky was asked, and it appears in various forms, Der Sich and others, what's the number one thing to do every single year to be Nitzel B'Din? We have the Ema, Yira, Resus, and Zia of the Yom HaDin, Abal Leinu L'Tova. Everybody wants to be Nitzel B'Din. Everyone wants to be saved. Everyone wants to have a Shana Tova Mesuka. What's the number one thing to do? Rabbi say, listen to this. Chaim Kanievsky says, every year I'm inundated. People want to know what's the one thing to do to be Zeicha B'Din. Don't they know, responded Rav Chaim, the Gemara Meforeshus and Rosh Hashanah at the bottom of Yud Zayin and Aleph. Kol Ma'avir Amidaisav, Ma'avir Lo Akopeshav. If you want the Eibishter to erase all of your Averis, then be a Mavater. Let it go. Forgive and forget, as Rav Itzala Petterberger of Yitzhak Blasser told us you did. Neman Rechaim Berlin, after he was nifter and he went into Shemayim, they made a pact in their lifetimes, as recorded in Rabbi Levin's biography, Yitzadik in our time. And Rav Itzala Petterberger came down to his Yedid Rechaim Berlin. Chaim Berlin said, "No, tell me what's going on in Shemayim." And he says, "They didn't give me Rishus, I wasn't given their license, the green light to tell you what's going on in the Olam HaEmes. But they did tell me that I could tell you that those who are forgiving to others, they was just forgiving to them. The way you act, Klapi the Briyaisov, that's Mida can Amida, how the Abishur is going to treat you. If you let it go and forget, and you can forget, and be Moichel Zayin, the Mida can Amida, Hashem says, I'll be Moichel. So, Be'ikv is such an ideal, L'chaira Abaisai, how are we going to be B'simcha, be Mesmech, other people? Let's turn to Tainus Chabez Amanala, for a broker was in the marketplace. And he met up with Eliyahu Navi, and he says, Eliyahu, tell me, who are the B'nai Olam Haba? And the Gemara relates Chabezim and Aleph as we get to the middle of the Yomud. Eliyahu says, you see those two Yidden, they're going straight to Olam Haba. Rav Broka can't hold his curiosity back, and he approaches these Yidden. And he says, tell me, what's your ASEC? What do you do? And they responded, we're happy people who make other people happy. There's so much tsar in this world, Rachmana litzlan. Even before October 7th, but now, Kavachaymer, Alachas Kama Vakama. How do you sleep all night with the hostages? With the soldiers? With the young Amonis and Yisayimim, Rachmana litzlan. Because just know we're the Amma Nifcha, we're the Amma Segula, and we're all made up of people who have a relationship. Ani Ladodi and the Eibishter will not give us 1 ounce more. 1 ounce less than what we need to get to our collective and personalized, individualized shleimus. If there was Hashem Simcha, even in his man of Yan Hashem B'Yom Tzora, and certainly when it's his man of Mizmor L'Saida. That's what the Eibishter wants. For us to be B'Simcha, and if you make other people happy, Midah Keneged Midah. The same way, if you're forgiving to others, the Eibishter is forgiving to you. If you make all the Yidden happy, the Eibishter will make you happy, and he'll have a year of Gevaldige Simcha. Who the B'nai Olam Haba, in Shibadichi, Anoshim Smeicham Anachnu, Who Mesamchem, what's the Simcha? Rabbi Shawolf said, Somech on the Eibishter, you always infuse people with them, what are we talking? Be Somech on Hashem, Hashlech on Hashem Yavcha, David Amal says, Tehillim Kapitel Nonei Pasach of Gimel, Hashlech on Hashem Yavcha, Vu Yechak Alacha. Be Somech on the Eibishter, and you'll always be B'Simcha, Gevaldige. In the Yarchan Kol HaTorah, Nisan Tavshin Pei Dalet, as Gevaldige Gemaisa of a Yosem, a young orphan boy whose mother was totally destitute, the young Amana that she was. Kamat didn't have a penny to her name, certainly couldn't buy any new begodim, no new hat, no new suit for the covered Yontif. And Yontif was fast approaching, and the little boy turns to his mother and says, Mommy, please, something, a new hat. If not a new hat, a new suit. Oh my chaverim, yedidim and cheder. They're all going to have new items. Look over the Yotav, Exus Nakia. Can I have something special? And she manages to collect shekel after shekel. And she can't buy him a new suit, and certainly not a new hat. But she buys him a new plain white shirt. And the boy goes into Yontif and comes the first day of Yontif, and he's so happy. At least he has a beautiful, nice white shirt. And he goes to daven in Shul, no father by his side, but he meets his chaverim after davening. And nobody notices his white shirt. Every friend says, oh, I like your new hat, Yaakov. And Moshe, I like your new suit. And he gets nothing. And he's all depressed, and he's walking down the street, and the basis all the Heilige Rebbe, with the whole retinue, the whole grand entourage. The basis all is walking down the street in Geula. And he sees this young boy, this Yosef. And he recognizes this young boy, Moshe. And the Rebbe stops in the middle of the street. Kriyas Yamsuf, the entourage divides. He walks over to the Yosef, grabs a hold of the collar, and he says, Moshe! Ah, what a nice shirt. Chutzah chadasha. Psh, psh, what a shirt. And this boy was mamish. Oneg Yontif L'Kol Hadayas. He was on a high. He probably didn't change the shirt for the next year. The Rebbe noticed his shirt. The Rebbe gave him a psh, psh, chutzah chadasha. Picked up another yid. And he made his day. Simcha Wasserman writes that he was related, second marriage of Chaim Moses, second wife, related to the Wassermans, as was well known in Ayin Otzos of Chaim Moser. He used to have, yes, he was writing one shuva with the right hand, one shuva with the left hand, learning with Talmidei Chachamim, talking with the Askonim, the lay leaders, V'chulei, had the Almanis and the everybody filled that second floor corner apartment in Vilna. Hundreds and hundreds of people. And Simcha Wasserman, he says, I was a bocher about 14, 15 years old, and I was very short. And I got a new tie. And I walked in, I got a new hat. And I walked into Chaim Ozer, and he had 100 people in the apartment. And Chaim Ozer himself was short, and there's no way he could have seen me. And he stopped in the middle of his conversations, his multiple simultaneous conversations. And he said, Simcha, I love your new hat. He says, oh, wow. One statement, and he picked up, uplifted his spirits for the next several weeks. Rabbi say, notice another Yid. But not just the Amonis and the assignment. Notice your next door neighbor. Notice the one down the block. Everyone's going through something. Pick up the phone, call them, bring them simcha. It's a VIP pass to Gan Eden Shamayla. And shivadicha mesamach mesacheret. Rav Volkin, the Mashkiach in Eretz Yisrael, the famous Mashkiach Bal Musar. I heard from one of his sons when they were sitting Shiva that somebody came into the Shiva in Bayit Vagan and said, I want to thank your father, Rav Volkin. His father, of course, Talmud and Radin, he says, I want to thank him. You know why? Because he had such a great sense of humor. He always told me great jokes. And here they are sitting, and somebody walked in. Mandelbaum was his name, from Bayit Vagan. And they said, we're thanking you because you shared your father with us. He always told me great jokes. And they said, our father? No, you got the wrong person. He didn't tell us jokes. He says, no, he always told me great jokes. I'll tell you some of them. And they asked him, what do you mean? And he told them. And they finally did Derishas and Chakiris, and they found out that 20 years previous, this Mandelbaum, his son, was run over by a car in Bayit Vagan. And the people didn't know what to do, and they decided, Rav Volkin, the Mashkiach, he's going to be the one. He knows this Mandelbaum. He's going to have to be the one to tell him the Besura Ra that his son was run over by a car. And he told this Mandelbaum, and Mandelbaum broke down in his arms. Lost a young child, Rachmanu Litzlan. And Rav Volkin decided henceforth, I don't want this Yid to look at me every time he passes me in the street or in the base Knesseth, base Menrish, and he's going to look at me and say, that's the rabbi who told me the terrible Basura that my son was nifter. So I decided every single time I see Mandelbaum in the streets, I'm going to tell him, I'm going to tell him a joke. I want him to remember me as the jokester. I want him to look at me and say I made him happy, not sad. That's a mashkiach. Boy, say that's a Yid. That's a Yid who says, I want to make another Yid happy. That was the base Yisrael. Now, Rabbi said, let me finish with the Gevaldige Maisa. Wonderful Sefer, Shuri Halacha Minhag of Young Rice in Baltimore. He writes, Moridike Maisa, he met somebody who's Osek in Kiruv Rachokim. And Eretz Yisrael. And he heard this Maisa that this Rav who was Osek in Kiruv, he met a young boy one time from a non-religious home. And he asked the boy, he says, tell me, what's your name? He says, my name is Yochanan Hassandler. He says, what in the world is going on here? Does anyone in the world know a Yochanan Hassandler? Boy said, names are big things. Bracha Zayin Amid Beis, Minalon Dushmagarim, Yuma Pei Gimel Amid Beis, Rameir Medayik B'Shmei, Cherush Yarim and Bracious, Shem Sham, there you are, I can find you in your name. That's your true essence. His name is Yochanan Hassandler, a non-religious boy, now coming for a Kiruv class? What's going on here? So he says, tell me, what's the story? So he calls up the boy's father. And the boy's father says, you should know that what I do for a living is I fix the roads, the highways in Eretz Yisrael. And a number of years ago, I was working on one of the highways, and I saw bus after bus. I never saw buses and cars and moniot, cabs. Everybody was driving someplace. So I said, where is everybody going? They told me, don't you know, tonight's Lag BaOmer. And everybody is going out to the Tzion of the Heilige Rashbi, the Tzanol Kirush Menachai. They're all heading in the direction of Meiron. He says, what's Meiron? What's Rosh Menachai? Says, oh, it's a holy, holy place. The Briskerov, Kaidor, Chaim HaKodesh, the Stipler. After the Kaisel, of course, Me'olam Nosers, the Shechina Mekosam Ravi, and the Twilis go up Derech Marsoch, Me'lech Hebron, and Rocheli Meina. One of the holiest places to daven is the Tzion of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. So he says, you know what? He says, I'm married over 10 years without children. If you're telling me miracles happen by the kever of Rav Shimon, you know what? Hashem wanted me to see this. I believe in God. I'm not a religious Jew. But you know what? Let me go up. At least I'll pray by the tzion of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. See, he makes his way up to Lag BaOmer the first time in his life. And he makes his way. He picked the wrong day, Rabbi. So I don't know about you, but I had the schus to live in out so many years. I said one time, at least once in my life. Once in my life, I have to go on Lag BaOmer itself to Meron. I went, that's it. Kiyamti, Eschavasi. 50, 60, 70,000 people. I finally made it into the cave, into the Ma'ara, and I'm davening with my Tillim. 5 minutes later, I was 150 yards away. Somewhere I was squashed in between 50. I have no idea how I flew to the other side. That's how I couldn't go. I said, you know what, next year, I went to Shabbos at Al Pi Kabul. You could go 3 days before the yard, 3 days after the yard site. Well, I went up to Shabbos right before the yard site. I went into Motzei Shabbos to Shemcha. I had the whole tzion to myself, 2 or 3 other people. I got to daven like a man. He went up his first time ever Lag BaOmer, and he tries to get into the Mara, and it's packed. He says, I can't. This isn't for me. This isn't for me. It's too squashed. V'chulei doesn't speak to me. I'm not flying on the shoulders of all these people. He says, you know what? I'm just going to pray outside. And then he's davening and says, I'm not going to get my miracle. I'm not going to have a child if I'm praying outside. So he starts walking around. Maybe I could go to another entrance. And then he sees there's another kever nearby. And he asks one of the Hasidim, he says, whose kever is this? He says, this is the kever of Rabbi Yochanan HaSandler. Who was Rabbi Yochanan? He made shoes? Who's the shoemaker? No, this is a Tana. This is one of our greatest Tanoim. His name was Rabbi Eytan Feiner Shlita. He says, tell me, was he a tzaddik? Yeah. Check. He was a tzaddik. Was he a Talmid Chacham? Oh, Talmid Chacham. Yes. Check. He was everything. Tzaddik, Talmid Chacham. Yes. He says, so you know what? He says, so maybe I'll go. And he's looking around and he sees 100,000 people. Everyone's crowding around the Tzion of the Rashbi. And there's nobody else davening by the grave of Rav Yochanan Shlita. So he makes his way, and he's the only one davening by Rabbi Yochanan Shlita's kever. And he says, Rabbi Yochanan Shlita, I don't know who you were, but I heard great things about you. But I can tell you, looking around, we got 70, 80, 90,000 people. Everybody came for your next-door neighbor, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. And nobody came for you. And I know you're all alone, and you're probably sad in your place in Shemayim right now. So Yochanan Shlita, I want you to know, he says, I'm also sad. I'm also lonely because I'm married over 10 years and my house is quiet. I don't have any children. So I'll tell you what, Rabbi Yochanan Shlita, let's make a deal. I'll spend my Lag BaOmer davening to keep you company and make you happy. Amida kenegen mida, can you daven for me in Gan Eden Shamayla? Then I should also have Simcha. And I should have a child to keep me company. And you already know the end of the story, Rabbi Say. 9 months later, after Lag BaOmer, his wife gave birth to their first and only child. Because he kept Rabbi Yochanan Shlita company. So what name are you going to give that child? Yochanan Shlita. So yes, there's a Yid today in Eretz Yisrael by the name of Yochanan Shlita. Rabbi Say, how are we going to be Nitzel B'Din? Make another Yid happy. Make a Yosem happy. If he doesn't have that new shirt and you can't be a Ger Rebbe, then buy him a new shirt, buy him a new suit, buy him a new hat for Rosh Hashanah. Buy it on a new groceries, go into the grocery store and just pay off someone's bill. Call up your next door neighbor, call up those relatives, those friends you haven't spoken to in years and decades. Bring Simcha to another Yid. It's the same way Rechaim said, the single biggest achos. Forget, just let it go, be mevater. Let it go. It's shtuyot. And if it's not shtuyot in the larger scheme of things, you bet it's kedai. Just forgive and forget. Let it go. Those who are forgiving to others, Hashem's forgiving to them. And those who bring simcha to others, Hashem will bring simcha to them. And yes, Tainis Chabeis, those who bring simcha to others, have a VIP pass right into the highest levels of Gan Eden Shamayla. Anoshim Simcha Manachna. Why? Because Achareka Chlosa Kol Kulun Shovan Lataiva. Yan Hashem Yom Tzora Bas Chaf. Mizmor Lasoida Hariul Hashem. Evdu as Hashem Simcha Kapital Kuf. It's all Kulun Shovan Lataiva. It's part of the Eberster's plan. Let's go into Elul Rabbi say with Gavaldige Siyata Dishmaya to ingrain and imbue into our psyche, into our liv and nefesh, yes, into our chush, into every fiber of our being. Ani ledodi, v'dodi li haroba shashanim. We have a spatzir. Let's go out on a walk in the fields, together, holding the Eberster's hand. Yad b'yad kaviyocha. Ani, forget everybody else. Ani ledodi v'dodi li. I have exactly what I need in life. Asali kol tzarki. Now go out and just do positive things for other people. Forgive, forget, and bring them gewaltige simcha. And Mida Kenegамida Hashem Yisroch will bring us all Moridike simcha like never before, with the ultimate simcha of the Gula Sida, with Bias called Tzedek Mashiach Tzedkenu, the Meira of Yemenu, Amen v'Amen. Yishkoyach Ergen Shir Taira, Shkoyach for coming out.
Shem Ergen Shir Taira, Mrs. Boston, I could give a big yashikayach to Rabbi Feiner for an inspiring drosha. Boys, however, wasn't able to be mishtatev in the dinner wegen Shir Torah, sponsor a shir can still take part in Avacheding and Abotzas of Torah wegen Shir Torah throughout the year by calling 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com or mail your donation to 1235 47th Street, Brooklyn, New York 11219. I'd like to be a big yashikar to all the sponsors of tonight's shir we announced at the beginning of the shir. I'd like to give a big yashikayach to the Boston and Beis Medrash for hosting the shiurim, Barashas the Rebbe Shlita. I'd like to thank all the Askanim who helped, the Kimmel family, and especially Eliezer and Shalom Weiss for all the help, the devoted help setting up the shiurim and the Ezras Noshim and the Shul every night for the shiurim entire summer. Rabbi side the shiurim of English Torah continuing every Sunday. This Sunday, Rezev Smith will renew his Sunday Halacha Shir at 1601 48th Street, still in the Shul. Normally 10 o'clock, this week 10:30. And there are daily Shirim in Yiddish there as well, 1 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Good Gebet Shir, Shekach, everyone for coming. And Chananya ben Akashim, Artzakadosh Baruch Hu, Lezakes, as Yisrael, Figure Hirbelem, Torah Mitzvah, Shanem, Adonai Chofes, Aman Sidkei, Yagdol Torah V'Yader.